They say that the Catholic Church has the correct Pope, but there are four popes. There's the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, there is the Pope of the Copts, there is the Pope of the Greek Orthodox, and there is the Pope of the Palmarians. You can't have four popes all being the representative of God and saying slightly different things, can you? The Pope of the Roman Catholic Church is the Bishop of Rome. The real Pope, or the one that has always been referred to the Pope in the past, is actually the Bishop of Alexandria. In the past, there were 5 cities which sort of nestled Christianity. It was Rome, Constantinople, Antioch, Jerusalem, and Alexandria. The Bishop of Alexandria have their lineage from St. Mark. The Bishop of Rome, who we now understand as the Catholic Pope, he gets his lineage from St. Peter, both Mark and St. Peter being apostles. The Bishop of Rome, before he was the Pope, wrote a letter to the Bishop of Alexandria calling him the Pope. Due to many disagreements due to Christology and bread, whether it should be leavened or unleavened, there were schisms. The first happened in 451. That was the Coptic Church. They went their own way. Then there was a second schism in 1054, which is now, that branch is now known as the Greek Orthodox Church. The Roman Catholic Pope has the title First Amongst Equals. Now, this is not debated by the Greek Orthodox Church. What is debated is the meaning of this. First among equals was something that was given to the Bishop of Rome because of the power structure in the church. It doesn't mean that you have divine right and supremacy. Why do the Catholics believe that they have the true Pope and their Pope has supremacy over everybody that is a Christian and a bishop and a cardinal? It comes from a passage in the Bible. Matthew 16:18, I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. The Catholic interpretation of this is that Peter is the rock, but not a lot of people agree with this interpretation. Only the Catholics do. Other people believe that the rock is Jesus, and in fact, in the Old Testament, the rock is referred to as God. The Catholics, God bless them, in their dogma, decided somehow through theology and a lot of very clever thinking that the Pope was a substitute for Peter, that the Pope was sitting on the chair of Peter. The Pope isn't technically an apostle, but the power that he has, he is sort of by de facto an apostle. Sitting on the throne or the chair of Peter, the Catholics have decided that the Pope has something called papal infallibility. Papal infallibility is when whatever the Pope says, there is no error in it, which is a little bit difficult because in the past the Pope has come to the interpretation that some things, like the world not being round, are true, and it sort of doesn't do the church very much good in its authenticity of its words. Obviously, the church needs to be built on strong foundations. I don't believe that humans are particularly good foundations to build things on. Why? Because humans are susceptible to sin and the work of the devil. However, Jesus is not susceptible to sin nor the work of the devil. Therefore, it would be much more intelligent if you're going to build something as vast and as important as the church, you'd build it on very good foundations. And the best foundations I could possibly think of would be those of Jesus. The fact that the church has so many problems is probably an expression of the fact that it has been built on fairly bad foundations, that being human instead of Jesus. Peter is supposedly the first bishop of Rome, or he's the first person to go to Rome. But the problem is that we don't think that Peter ever went to Rome. In fact, when Jesus died, Peter's mission was not to go to Rome, it was to go to the Jews. The person that went to Rome was Paul. And in fact, when Paul was put into prison in Rome, he never ever mentioned in any of his letters anything about Peter being present in Rome. Now that would be very strange, because having a friend like Peter and Paul, having been together for a large amount of time, having known Jesus, really, making that friendship, you would have thought that Peter would have visited him in prison, or you would have thought that Paul would have said something about Peter creating this new church, but nothing was said. And why? Because Peter was never in Rome. There are dates and geographical locations that put Peter in a completely different place. For instance, like Babylon. Babylon is nowhere near Rome. Now, there is another theory. There is somebody in the Bible called Simon Peter Magus, known as Simon Magus. Now, Simon Magus was a sorcerer, and a very, very, very powerful one. He saw the apostles with their miracles and tried to pay them for the knowledge, but they refused. Simon went to Rome at the same time Paul was there, and Simon became a celebrity, a very famous person. He was known by his name to the government, to the emperor, and to the people, to such an extent that they built a statue in his name and called him a god. He was also buried in the Roman cemetery, which was specially for soothsayers and pagans. Simon, due to his popularity, then built a church, blending paganism and Christianity together. I think that Simon Peter Magus was confused with Peter. If the church has been built on the foundations of a sorcerer, it might explain some of the things that the Catholic Church has done, like rape, murder, genocide, and other such beautiful things that sorcerers might be engaged in. The Catholic Church didn't have a pope for hundreds of years. So if there was supposed to be a pope, you would have thought that Peter would have set one up, not having waited 400 years for there suddenly to be a pope. I believe it was the Pope Leo I that decided that he would be the first pope. There was never a pope after Jesus. It took some 400 years for there to be a pope. Now, you would have thought that Peter would have set up some sort of lineage. He would have put something into order after he died, or he would have been very clear and specified what Jesus had wanted. But there is nothing. Why? Because there was never supposed to be a pope. The entire power of the Catholic Church is based on a misinterpretation of a verse in the Bible. It's been purposely done to elicit power and control over people. This is a form of mind control and a form of indoctrination in order to juxtapose and reorientate the perception of people. Thank you very much. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to subscribe, please press the red button. Thank you very much.